last time. First big game animal up here for Christian. Happens to be a bull elk in paradise. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna skin this side of the bull, flip it out that way. We're not gonna gut the bull, we're just gonna take the meat off, throw it on the hide there, and we're gonna roll the bull into that hide, that clean surface once we take the meat and hang it. Take the other meat off the other side and skin the other side. And then I'll show you a little trick to get the heart out, and we'll get the tenderloins too. Here I'm gonna do, because Christian wants to keep the hide and we want it to be symmetrical, I'm gonna do just one straight line belly cut. I'm gonna start up here in the bull's mane. And if you're doing a rug, you wanna get the mane even. You wanna be dead center because it's pretty hairy, as you can see. Try to go with the hair so you don't cut a ton of the hair. That'll save your knife and it'll keep all the hair on the hide. Then right here, a trick, because once you start skinning them, it's really easy to get your line off here. What I do is I take and I nick the hide like that. So when I come on the other side, I know that I'm coming perfectly symmetrical. In this case, I'm gonna actually just even angle it like that. So I'm following that exact cut. I'm gonna go here, here, so it's perfectly symmetrical. And then down the belly cut, we're gonna keep going. And it's actually interesting because when you're caping bulls, the hide on the back, like this knife's pretty sharp, and I can just zip through here, but the hide on the back, like when you're caping a back line, back up here, because you're kind of doing the inverse if you want to shoulder mount the bull. When you do that, their skin on their back is like that thick. And even a sharp knife is bitch. Okay, so you can see that I extended the line all the way down along his penis there, between his nuts right there, just one nice straight line. What I do, particularly on bulls that are after the rut or during the rut, after I've gone through all that dark hair on their belly, I clean my knife. I like to just use a wet wipe because it's just saturated with piss. And just from a hygiene perspective, you want to either be using a different knife or you want to clean your knife once you get through all that shit. And then after I'm done with all the original haircuts, I'll wipe it again, just so I'm not introducing a bunch of stuff off my knife into the meat. But then the last cut I got to do here is just, I'm going to go here, I'm going to follow around so I'm outside the color. I'm going to go here, and then same deal here, follow out here, inside the long hair. And that way that long hair will all be together on the rug. And it just looks better that way versus if you split it. You want it where all the colors kind of the same on both sides. So we're finished with the original cuts here. And you can see I left the legs on. Those first cuts going up behind and just making sure they're, you can come in here, Dan. For me, it's a little easier if I got the whole foot because I can get a hold of it. So I like to do a straight line off both fronts and then the back the same way. So same deal, I can put this between my leg, do the cut all the way, keep the long hair on the rump, right, both sides. I did these, and then there's the belly cut. So those are the only cuts we're gonna do because we're keeping the hide. And honestly, even if you're not keeping the hide and you're gonna do this gutless method, this is how I like to do it anyway. Some guys will actually go from the back and skin, you know, towards the belly. You do have to do that if you want to keep the cape, but I think this is the best way to do it. First, I'm going to take the legs off, then we're going to skin one side of the bull and go from there. In the perfect world, and I'm able to do it here because I already did the original cuts, go into your skinned cuts and skin around this whole joint. When I'm in a big hurry, I honestly don't do that. I just go straight into the joint like this through the hair. It dulls your knife. It's a little less hygienic because you split a bunch of hair. But if you've got time to do it, you can just skin that whole joint out. And then the joint, I'll show you a trick on the rear, but on the front joint, you kind of got to ballpark it. Most people try to go too high. It's kind of the bottom 2/3 of the joint. You'll know you're hitting it because if you got the leg right here between your legs, you'll feel it kind of loosen up on you, and you'll also see joint fluid, and that's when you know you're in the right spot. And on these bulls, you have to cut around the whole thing. It's not like a deer. You're not going to manhandle them apart. You'll know if you're in the right one because you'll make some progress, and you'll see that kind of viscous joint fluid. Okay, and you can it almost will fall off. Like there's no reason for a saw. See? You can arm bar it if you got a little bit, but that's the joint you're looking for. So rear leg, same deal here, guys. I skinned off this whole hock here, but a lot of times I'll just go straight to the hair if I'm in a hurry. Now the key is this right here. this right here is your handle. So that hole you're seeing, that's your handle, and it's a sin to cut through this, and then you don't have any way to carry this big quarter and manipulate it. So the trick to find the joint on the hind leg is go like this, and you can see there's a 90-degree right here. The joint is at the line following the hip right here, right there at the 90, if you're doing a 90. And you'll find it, same deal. Put this between your legs so you can feel when you're hitting the right joint. You'll feel it start to give. You'll kind of feel it in the toes. And to me personally, like, my intuition is that it's much further down than you'd think it is. And it's a big flat joint. You can see the same deal. See all that viscous fluid in there? That's when you know you're at the right spot and you start to see some space. And it takes practice. Like, I'm not trying to be like an egomaniac about it, but guys will go to war with these fucking things. I've done it 100 times. So you gotta really take your time and make sure you find that big joint right there. And then once you have it there, you can just pull her off. Luckily, I've got some help skinning, but some keys on skinning these elk is, one, this hide will tend to want to roll in, and you're in the backcountry, so you want to try to limit how much hair ends up on the meat. It's going to happen, so don't worry about it. But one way to do that is don't let the hide roll back on the meat like this. Keep that hide rolling back. And one of the keys is as you skin, if you start getting frustrated, like something feels tight, you can't get in there, like this is all loose, right? Like this is easy skinning. I can look really cool doing this. But you'll eventually run into little parts of the anatomy that it's very difficult for you to get your knife in there. When you do that, or when you experience that, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else along the body and skin there, because you'll loosen up the hide there, and then when you come back, it'll be loose again for you, and it won't be a big hassle. Like a notorious spot is right in here, right? Like in here, if I start skinning that right now, it's gonna be tricky. I wanna start skinning this off, skin this off, and then come back in there, and I'll have a lot of space and I won't be fighting myself the whole time. And then another key, and it's just a finesse thing, you're gonna end up cutting through the hide a little bit when you're first learning. But what you wanna do is, you don't wanna put a lot of pressure like this on the hide. So my fingers here, they're like this, right? When you do that, you're much more likely to cut the hide because there's pressure on the hide. What you want to do is you want to have like a trampoline effect, like this. When you do that, that hide's a lot more forgiving, because when you hit it with your knife, it bounces, right? Like, see, that looks like I'm gonna cut right through it, but there's a little play, right? What happens is you get tight in here, you're white knuckling, and you go like that. That's when you do big cuts in the hide. This is the ultimate in guiding right here, having the client skin the elk. So at this point, guys, we've got the bull, the whole side of him skinned. We're gonna start pulling meat off. And what I like to do, just to keep everything clean, is get this hide out here where you can lay quarters on it. And that way, when you cut them off, you just lay them down here, and then you can transfer them to game bags. So I'll get the game bags ready. What we're gonna do is take the shoulder off, take the rear quarter off, back straps. I'll pull the brisket for Christian because he's going to use it. Some people do, some people don't. We're going to get all this off, and then we'll flip them over and do the other side. All right, guys, my elk hunting course is up at pursuewithcliff.com/elk. So many courses are 90% how to call elk. And yes, I touch on that, but I cover so much more that's important. In particular, I try to get you in the mind of an elk, how an elk thinks about staying alive. Once you understand that, once you know how to apply it to the wind, how to apply it to your stocks, you are going to be way better at killing elk. I even do a whole couple hours on shot placement. From what I've seen over hundreds of elk hunts, exactly where to put that arrow, exactly where to put that bullet. Go check it out, pursuewithcliff.com/elk. I'll see you guys there. All right, so the scapula is here, but you got to remember the back straps here too. And you don't want to cut into the back strap when you're pulling the scapula off. So you want to kind of look, it's tricky when they're downhill like this. You kind of, so the shoulder bone's there. So I know I can go around it here. Then here in the rib cage, I'm fine. Then here, Some guys will take the brisket off with the shoulder. I'm gonna take the brisket off separate for Christian because he's gonna utilize it. So I'm just gonna go right here. And the thing to remember with the shoulder is it doesn't have any like actual connective joints. It's loose. So you just kind of run your knife against the body here. And then what I'll do here is I'll take, and there's a big ligament right here. I'll just stick my knife underneath it here. Be really careful not to poke myself. And that's gonna give my helper a hold. So go ahead and hold this, Christian. Then when it comes off, just lay it down there, or you can just pick it straight up and I'll put it in the game bag for you. Here, what I'm looking for is I got ribs right here. Okay, so I don't mind going against that. I don't mind taking a little neck meat off. Processor's gonna use that for burger anyways. But here, in here, we're gonna start getting into the back strap. We don't want to take that off with the shoulder. See, back strap's right here. Look right in here, Dave. See this right here? That's the back strap. That's one of our best pieces of meat, so we don't want to run a knife through it. I see it right there, and then here's the plate of the ribs. So I can just run plate of the ribs right there. Here. All right, Christian, pull it up in there for me if you can. Straight up. If he can't hold it, he can lay it down. If he can hold it, I'll get a game bag. Okay, so it's kind of tricky with the anatomy back here, but what you want to do is you could even feel your own hip. Your own hip kind of comes forward towards your head, and that's what these bulls are too, right? And so that's where the back strap's going to end. So I like to find that hip bone right there. I'm going to go right in the inside of it, and that's where my back strap's going to start. There. And so this side of it is my back strap, and then this side of it's going to be my hind quarter. And I like to do the top of it before. Here's the spine right here. I like to do the top cuts first before I get in there, because once you cut the femoral artery, you can't see shit. So I like to get as deep as I can in here against that curved hip bone. So I'm getting all that good meat. I'm just kind of riding this line here. This is gut, so you got to be careful. Here, and then I'll go all the way down to his spine. I'll hit it. It's right there. And then here I'm going to turn. And there's a lot of curvature in their hip bones. So it's one of the spots that if you're not real like on the anatomy, you'll leave a lot of meat, which is not the end of the world. You can come back to get it at the end. But working from the top helps out a lot. And then right here, you can see there's just a little bit of area right there between you and the guts. Okay. So I like to do that. And then here's his butthole. What we're gonna do, we're gonna follow along. His tail's right here. Following along. Now here's a tricky spot that gets people. There's a hook right here on the bone. You'll hit it with your knife. You can't go through it. It's part of the pelvis. You got to go in a little bit towards yourself, curve around it when you feel the edge of it. Not quite there yet. Just kind of laying my blade against there, and then I can feel when my blade turns. I know I'm around it. And I'm gonna go in like that. That little spur right there drives a lot of people crazy. I'm just following it down. And then here is about where I'm gonna start going from the top, because now I got the back cut. All I'm gonna do from the inside is I'm just gonna cut to that back cut, and we'll pull the whole quarter off. Once you get that femoral, you can't see anything. A lot of people ask me about keeping sex on bulls. You gotta remember, like their balls and penis and stuff, there's no natural attachment point to a quarter. And legally, you gotta have it attached to the quarter. So grab the nut, slam it against the quarter here, and all you're looking for is enough soft tissue to attach it to that quarter. This is his pecker right here, so watch that. You don't really want to cut into that if you can avoid it. See, there's just a block of soft tissue here. I'm gonna go around that, and that's gonna attach it. But man, is it easy to mess that up and cut the nut off. Do it on your first one, so you got a nut left if you screw it up. I'm kind of pulling with my legs. We're gonna hit the ball joint right here. There it is. It's not too bad, but a lot of times it'll kind of explode at you. Must be the angle. It's not too bad here, but your ball joint. Here we're coming into our cut from the top. So we're hitting our hip bone. See, I already got my cut from the top. Makes life easy. Go ahead and push it down for me if you can, towards the ground. There we go. So ball joint here, femorals here. This is the curve going into the backstrap. So there's a bone right there, right here. This is backstrap, okay? And then here's a curved section here. I rode my knife the whole way. Here's our hook that throws everybody off. And we come here and go to the ball socket. Start at the top, make your life a whole hell of a lot easier. So on the backstrap, the key is to know your point back here. Here's the hip bone. That's where we're gonna start. There's the backstrap. You got the spine exposed completely. You gotta make sure you're doing that because if they're in sloping terrain, it can be problematic because you gotta be able to get to that spine. So what I like to do is I like to find where my backstrap starts. So I'll go up here in the ribs and I like to pull my neck with the backstrap, one big piece. So I'll go up here, I get as high as what I consider edible, which is right about here. I mean, it's the majority of the neck. We'll go in there. Is our starting cut. You're gonna go through this, get into the spine there, and then here, there's a shelf that we're looking for, and it comes off the ribs. It's not real defined up here in the neck because their neck is, you've got real big vertebrae. Back in here, you'll find a defined shelf. This is all your sinew that natives used to make bowstrings out of, this stuff, and then that big chunk right there. So I'm just riding that shelf down. Always when you get back here by the guts, make sure you're above the shelf, not below it. You get below it, you'll get surprised. And then here, there's an open spot in the shelf. So if you see a little red meat, that's okay. Because if you go through the red meat, you're gonna hit guts. And it's soft in there. Pull this off. You want to be able to see a little bit better. So right here is guts. And there's little like kind of small bones that'll draw you under the bones into the guts. So you want to be real careful. Guys get so worried about losing backstrap meat, they end up with gut juice all over their backstrap. So here, there's an angle there, angle like that. If you forget about it, just feel your own hips, just like ours. There's a lot of guys will leave, you go look at a gut pile, a lot of guys will leave a big chunk of meat right here because they don't realize it's angled. You can get a nice little steak right there. Then here's his spine right here. That's gonna give me a spot to start. So here, I like to do a cut right here. Just get where I got something to get a hold of. And then I'm kind of doing it backwards, but now just put your knife against that spine there. And I'm just gonna have you pull it towards his head, if you can. Yep. There you go. Don't pull too hard because it will tear out. You won't get all the meat. Okay. Keep it going there. Yep. New York's ribeyes into the neck. I think I got that right. Christian wants the brisket, and I actually used to never take them, but I had a guy convince me to take them, and they actually cook pretty well. Guys are really worried about the fat on elk, and it doesn't taste real good, but I feel like when you cook it, slow cook these briskets, that fat kind of, I don't know what happens to it, but it tastes fine. And so there's a pretty good hunk of meat right here. What you want to do is guts here, end of the ribs here. I like to just take it all off. If you're gonna take any of it, why not take all of it? So I'm just making sure that I'm not gonna go through into the cavity. And here I'm just gonna ride the ribs. So here's the sternum, and I'm gonna take it off in 2 pieces because we got the bull laying on the ground. If you have the bull hanging, you can take it off in 1. Go right down his breastbone, his sternum there. It's obviously not the size of a beef brisket, but it's a pretty good hunk of meat. This is just a muscle above the trachea here, so you don't need to take that off. There you go. So that's one side of an elk's brisket. So we're gonna get the heart out here. And a lot of people think that if you do the gutless method, you can't get the heart, but particularly when you take the brisket out, you can see it. There's these ribs right here, heart's right here. And then right here where you see this fat, you can actually come in here with your knife and you gotta find the little area of cartilage, right? And you can cut through the base of these ribs. Okay, so you can see I got through that one. Got to be careful with this, like don't be cutting towards your legs or anything. So I got one rib right here that I can break. Okay, and then here do the same thing. Here, all the way in here, I'm going to try to find that cartilage at the base of the rib. It's real weird. It's like a curved, it's a curved soft spot. Grab your ribs, snap them back. But the key of the heart is the heart doesn't look like what you'd expect. It's got a bag on it, but you want to put a little cut in it, fluid around it, each in there, grab it. Watch out for the shards of those ribs. Then I like to cut the valves and shit off. You're not gonna eat those. So there it is. So if anybody tells you can't get the heart when you do gutless, they're full of shit. So that's halfway done. All right, we're gonna wait to do the tenderloins till the very end. So we're just gonna flip the bull over this way, do the exact same thing, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to get the tenderloins out. Guys, I've been using onX Maps for almost 2 decades now, hunting, guiding, outfitting. It is the gold standard tool when it comes to mapping software in the hunting world. They've been a huge supporter of my content for multiple years, so if you want to support me and you want to support them, use my code CliffG for 20% off at onxmaps.com. It is an awesome tool that I use all the time when I'm preparing for hunts, and I use it almost every single day in the field. For navigation, knowing unit boundaries, knowing private land boundaries, it is the tool you have to have. So one key thing here, and I kind of strategically did this, is the first side, if you have the ability to do it, you want the first side to be downhill, you want the second side to be uphill. Because if you don't do that, it's really hard to get to this backstrap if you have all that weight laying on it on the second side. So this is going to be real easy for us to get to. Back to my original thing where I nicked the hide for my angle. This is why it can get so confusing, because now everything looks different, but I can see this is the hole right here. So that's how I keep it symmetrical. I'm going to go right there, even though it's loose. Go right here. This, connect these two, and then we've got the hide symmetrical. All right guys, so you can see we skinned this other side, and basically what I'm trying to do is just keep the meat out of the dirt to the extent I can. But this is all skinned. We got the backbone up here high, so it's gonna be easy to get the backstrap off. I'm at the tail. You can basically, same deal on the tail, just like the joints on the legs, but a lot easier. Just score one of the joints with your knife, crack it, and then you're through. And then basically we're gonna take the meat off here, and the next thing I'll show you is pulling the head off and getting the tenderloins. So this side is finished now, and a lot of people are gonna say, well, what about the rib meat? So my opinion on the rib meat is you can take it off, but if you're gonna take it off, you're gonna get all the meat off, and it's gonna be about this big, and then by the time you trim off all the tallowy fat, it's gonna be about this big. And then if you bring it to a processor, they're gonna grab it and throw it away. And if you process it at home, don't take that rib meat and throw it into your grind, because it'll lower the quality of your grind because there's so much fat on it. So I don't take it. It's up to you. I'm not saying it's wrong to take it, or to take it, but I don't. And I took the brisket off this bull. I don't take this meat right here along the trachea. Same deal, very hard to use. And so this is basically it. We're gonna go in here. We're gonna pull the tenderloins out, which can be kind of tricky, this method, but this bull is pretty much finished. So the hardest part of the gutless method. Now, if you get in a real jam and you don't have the guts going downhill because of the terrain or whatever, you can go in and just do a slit at the bottom of the guts just to try to relieve some of that pressure. We don't need to do that because we're going downhill, and I've got Christian to help me. But what you want to do is just go right here along the back where you've taken the back strap off, and when you get to a soft spot, that's where your tenderloin is going to be. In here, you'll kind of run through. Usually, if they got any inner abdominal fat, it'll be right here, so you'll kind of know you're in the right spot. And I'm going to open this up real good so Christian can see, and you'll see how much it helps to have somebody help you. I like to have as much room as I can before I go in there. So this is guts right here. This is the start of the tenderloin. So I'll literally take, yeah, there you go, Christian. You're gonna grab that, push down, but let me cut it open a little bit. And the tenderloin goes all the way back in here. If you can stick your hand like right in there even, that helps a lot. So if you look right here, so this right here is actually the end of the tenderloin. So you can go up here, get under the shelf here, come out here. It goes up here pretty far. Basically, what I like to do is I like to get the end cut, because then I got something to get a hold of. And this is one of those things you gotta be careful with. Put one hand right here, Christian, where mine is. Yep. Because man, if you cut yourself in here, cut your buddy's hand, you got bigger problems. Main thing is don't get in a big hurry, frustrated. We're gonna just work up this side. You can go right here if you want, Dan. So in terms of the shelf here, like I can feel the end of it. And it'll tear out if you just yank it. So you gotta try to resist that urge, because you'll leave half of it in there. Okay, so there's the tenderloin. It's a bitch to get out, I'm not gonna lie, but it's the best piece of meat in there. So a little secret, I think, or a little trick, is I just take the guts here, pull it away. And Christian might grab in his head so I can flip his guts. Yeah, all right. Keep this kind of, try to keep it skin to skin so it stays nice and clean. Roll it uphill here. You still gotta take the head off. So just like that. All right, and then like put them hands on. Yeah, here you go. The angle matters, because what you want to do, it's kind of like the leg joints. If you're in the wrong spot, you're going to do 99 times as much work. All animals have this. They have like a crest, including us, I believe. You want to hit the joint, the vertebrae that's before the skull. If you hit the one before that, or where there's a couple vertebrae, you'll go to war. You'll be up here for 2 hours trying to get a head off. So it's right here. See that gap right there? That's when you know you're out of that. We just cut through the little, I don't know what that is, but there'll be a gap right here that'll open up. You guys will see in a second here. They got a big ligament. Let's skin his neck down a little more. Down. There we go. That's better though. If you're high, that's a lot better than being low. Okay, get in there, Dan. There it is. That's what you want it to look like. If it doesn't look like that, you're in the wrong spot. Once you get to that joint, you got to go around the whole neck, including the trachea, because they got a lot of meat and neck and stuff holding their head on. So you can't, like a deer, you can basically cut into that, twist their head right off. But these elk, you got to get this cape pretty much off. Same deal here. All right, Christian, you want to do the honors? I'm going to hold him like this. You try to twist his head right off.
Just rotate.
You got to rotate it like that. So pick his nose up out of the ground. Yep. Might have to grab his nose. You hear that? You're in business. You got her. There we are. All right, guys, so I wanted to mention that I'm having these custom skinning knives made. These are called Cliff Skinner. I've got a whole bunch of reasons why I've had this knife made the way that it's made. Got a short video on the website. The details are there. pursuitwithcliff.com. Click in the corner up by shop. You'll see Cliff Skinner. Click that puppy. You'll get all the details. So I'm pretty sure I'm getting too old for this shit. But you can see we got it all cleaned up there. Go ahead and show it to him, Dan. All the meat's off. Tenderloins, heart, brisket. We got our cape for the full hide and head there. Just strap it on a backpack and we'll be out of here. But that's the whole rundown. If you enjoyed this content, do me a huge favor. Subscribe on whatever platform you consume it on. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever works for you guys. Everything else is on my website, pursuitwithcliff.com. Go there and it's going to be very apparent to you that I work my ass off just to not have a real job. All the hunts I guide, all the seminars I put on, all the unique experiences I offer, and the membership site, all the details are there.